Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, coming back at you early on a Thursday for August 12th, 2021. And you know what that means. It's time for this week's issue of the Bungie Weekly Blog, This Week at Bungie. And this week, we've got quite a few things to talk about. Bungie goes over some changes to Iron Banner, some major exotic reworks that are coming into the fore with Season 15, and even more. First things first, if you haven't played D2 at all this week, we had the epilogue for Season of the Splicer go live. There's an awesome quest. It's got a great cutscene tied into the end of it. So if you want to catch the end of this season's story, make sure you play before the end of the season on August 24th. Additionally, we got some really interesting news for breaking some milestones over on Twitter. In particular, we got to learn what next season's champion mods are going to look like. And in this sneak peek, we see that we're going to be getting the return of anti-barrier auto rifles, overload bow, which could be really interesting, and then unstoppable linear and regular fusion rifles, pulse rifles, and sidearms. Additionally, we're also going to be getting overload swords, though that wasn't on the image macro that they gave us. So there's a sneak peek at what some of the weapon archetypes you'll be using to take down some of those champions are in the future. In particular, I'm definitely looking forward to unstoppable linear and regular fusion rifle. Vex Mythoclast is going to be massive in that regard since it can function as both. Can't wait to try that out. But anyways, let's get on into what the TWAB had to talk about today. First up, in a section titled Fine Tuning, we learn about some quality of life changes coming next season. Starting us with changes coming to controller sensitivity and the traction perk. The traction mod felt mandatory for PvP on controller and unnecessary on mouse and keyboard. This felt to be more appropriate as an accessibility option rather than a balanced choice. Players, including Bungie themselves, have also long felt that maximum 10 sensitivity wasn't enough on controller. So we're making some changes to bring controller input closer to parity with mouse and keyboard. So here's what they've done. They've added a sprint turn speed scaler option, which allows values from 0.3 up to 0.8. They've removed the traction mod, I guess to accompany for this. They're just basically making the traction mod a part of the accessibility options for your character. They've added additional controller sensitivity options. 1 to 10 sensitivity is the same as before. 11 to 20 is going to be the increase over that. 20 sensitivity. That's going to be like Call of Duty Battlefield levels of sensitivity. And finally, they've added an ADS sensitivity modifier, which allows values from 0.5 all the way up to 1.5. Fantastic change in my opinion. Traction, I've said for a long time, should just be a normal way your character works rather than being a specific perk you have to equip. Really happy to see that change coming forward. After that, we learn about some changes coming to super generating exotics. All of these changes are going to be coming in Season 15, and they concern quite a few of the more popular exotics for use right now. Let's get started. The first set of changes coming in Season 15 have to do with exotics that refund super energy. As a group, these exotics tend to outshine other exotic choices, especially in high difficulty in-game activities. In some cases, they can trivialize the content or make it feel like the only reasonable option to equip for your build. Most of our changes here aim to standardize how these exotics work and to place a cap on how much super uptime they can grant by themselves. To offset these changes, some of their perks were reworked to be more generous with their refund minimums. There is also a new member of the family. Let's get into the changes here. First up, we've got Shards of Galanor. They've increased the amount of super granted for hits, but total super regain is now capped at 50%. You're going to see that trend throughout the rest of the exotics here. Next up for Titans, the Ursa Furiosa. They've capped the amount of super energy you can regain once your super ends at 50%. Then, Skull of Dire Amkara, which has needed a major buff for a long time. Honestly, I would always just say they should just undo the nerf they did to it years ago. But here's what's changing. They've increased the amount of super refunded per kill, but the total super gain again is capped at 50%. Then we've got Phoenix Protocol, which is a sleeper hit. They've capped the amount of super energy you can regain once your super ends at 50%. That's gonna hurt for that one. Next up, Storm Dancer's Brace. Now also refunds up to 50% of your super energy after your super ends based on the number of kills. Then, and the one everybody's been waiting for, GEOMAG Stabilizers is seeing a change. They've removed the sprint to top off your super aspect of this exotic. This part of the perk led to a higher uptime in PvP than was healthy and gave Attunement of Control Warlocks an immediately renewable supply of super energy for paying for mod costs like Special Finisher and PvE. And so fear not, Red Jacks out there. The GEOMAGs are finally being nerfed in Season 15. But that's not the only changes we've got. Next up, in a section titled Retunes and Reworks, here's what Bungie had to say. The next batch of changes is focused on injecting some more power and excitement into some less popular choices. These are a few exotics that missed the boat this time that need some extra special attention, like a certain pair of hunter boots, and a lot more that could benefit from a nudge or two. First up for hunters, we've got a change coming to the bombardiers. The bomb now has a secondary effect based on your subclass type. A blinding effect for arc, burns for solar, slow for stasis, and it suppresses for void. Note, the suppression will not affect a guardian in their super, so dropping a bomb with the bombardiers isn't going to knock out a player in their super. Good change. Out of that, we've got a change to the Graviton forfeit. They've increased the bonus invisibility duration. The melee regeneration speed now increases based on the number of enemies near you. That's great. And while you are invisible, your recovery is also greatly increased, and your weapons reload much more quickly. All some pretty major changes for Graviton. After that, we've got changes to the Lucky Pants. They've added intrinsic hand cannon holster mods and replaced the previous functionality with the following. When you ready a fully loaded hand cannon that deals kinetic damage or damage matching your subclass energy type, for a short time, each hit against a combatant from that hand cannon increases the damage of the next shot. Oh boy, Storm and Ace of Spades are just singing from the rooftops right now. But they leave a note here. Note, no, Hawkmoon won't be able to one-shot a raid boss using these legs. Other hand cannons will get a fun edge in combat though. And what is a hand cannon holster mod, you might ask? Well, a new kind of mod that reloads stowed weapons. More on that below. Again, Sturm and Drawn are just singing from the rooftops right now. I could see this working really well with Ace of Spades and a couple of other things. Can't wait to try this out with the Lucky Pants. It's going to make them really an interesting exotic choice in PvP. Let's move on to the Titan changes. First up, we've got changes to the Precious Scars. We'll now also create a burst of healing and bonus recovery around you whenever you kill an enemy with a weapon whose damage type matches your subclass type. Interesting, I like the whole subclass matching thing they're going for here. And then Icefall Mantle. Remove the slower class ability recharge scaler. And that's all the changes we've got for Titan. Next up, we've got the changes coming to Warlock exotics. First off, we've got Verity's Brow. They've changed it to trigger when you get a weapon kill that matches your subclass energy type and increased the grenade damage bonus to 20% per stack, up from 10%, so they've doubled that grenade damage bonus. This might be nutty. I mean, Verity's Brow was already fairly useful when you used it with the Stasis, Bleak Watcher build with the turret. I wonder if this is gonna double the damage of that turret now. Or at least double the damage bonus with Verity Brow now. That's going to be, oh man, Nim's going to have fun with that. After that, we've got the Stag. Grants damage reduction to allied guardians standing in your rifts. 25% against combatants, 15% against players. Interesting. I like that this is giving a sizable buff to the Stag because, again, it's kind of got an odd ability. As I recall, it's the one where you have to die, and whenever you die, you automatically drop a rift. It's always kind of weird to have an ability that's triggered to you dying in the game, but this is a pretty sizable damage reduction buff to be giving, so we'll have to see how that works out. And then, finally, the Promethean Spur, also known as What Are Those? It now has additional functionality. While standing in a rift, solar weapon kills give you class ability energy, and when your class ability energy is full, solar weapon kills consume that energy and spawn a combination healing and empowering rift at the target's location. Wow, so you can actually spawn rifts now if you're using solar weapons while using the Promethean Spur. Might actually get me to put those ugly things on. Anyways, they finish this up by saying keep your eyes open for other changes to come in the wake of these as well. Our goal for the next few seasons, especially following the launch of the Witch Queen, is to increase the variety of fun and powerful choices available to players in PvE and PvP alike. Love the sound of that. Alright, now we get to learn a bit more about holsters and the holster mod they talked about earlier. Bungie states that we're also rolling out some changes to mods that affect the ammo economy. Running double ammo scavenger mods made it too easy to have 100% uptime with special weapons in both PvE and PvP. In PvP specifically, we believe this is an important factor in how oppressive certain special weapons feel. Reducing their effectiveness is a step towards addressing this. We're prepared to revisit this depending on how it plays when it's out in the wild. We're also looking to improve Ammo Finder to make it a bit easier to earn special and heavy ammo in PvE, while introducing a new type of leg armor mod that reloads stowed weapons. And as such, here we go. First up, Ammo Finder. Now have an increased chance to spawn ammo on kills with primary weapons, and a further increased chance with exotic primaries. Interesting change. Then, changes to Scavenger. Multiple copies of Scavenger mods of the same type no longer stack. Ouch, that's gonna hurt in Grandmasters. And then we've got holster mods coming. This is a new type of leg armor mod that will gradually reload stowed weapons of the matching type over time. Multiple copies of holster mods of the same type will increase the rate ammo is reloaded. The following weapon types will have holster mods: auto rifles, fusion rifles, grenade launchers, heavy weapon grenade launchers, hand cannons, linear fusion rifles, machine guns, pulse rifles, scout rifles, shotguns, sidearms, submachine guns, sniper rifles, and trace rifles. Hand cannon will of course exclude Ariana's Vow. Rocket launchers, breech-loaded grenade launchers, and bows will not have holster mods, as we didn't want to affect any weapon that has a magazine size of 1. Interesting change there. Auto-loading holster is already one of the most important perks in the game for certain types of weapons, like certain shotguns, especially for breech-loaded grenade launchers. So it's interesting that they're kind of taking that sort of ability and making a universal, well, it's not really universal. You're going to have weapon-specific mods for it moving forward. I'm down with it. Anytime you don't have to go through the reload animation is good with me. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying that out. But alright, in a section that I am sad to see, but I told you was coming. Warmind cells are too powerful. And Bungie says that was the point. At the time they were created, they were only expected to last for about a year, so they could push the envelope on something cool and flavorful, knowing that they wouldn't be around breaking things forever with the force of Rasputin's explosive wrath. They would have a time to shine, but eventually leave and make room for the next exciting thing. Now that they're able to remain viable in in-game content indefinitely, we feel it's necessary to bring them down to be more in line with what the rest of the sandbox is capable of. If we didn't, it would cause ongoing problems for activity design and weapon rewards. So here's the changes they're making to Warmind cells. First up, base Warmind cells. They've reduced the radius of the explosion and effect range of Warmind cells from 10 meters down to 6 meters, and they've reduced the damage of the explosion of Warmind cells. Previously it was 2 to 400, is now 50 to a max of 250. Then, global reach. They've increased the mod cost of global reach to 3. It was previously 1. And they've reduced the amount of radius increase from 20 down to 10. It used to give you 20 more meters, now it's down to 10 meters. 10 additional meters on top of the 6 meters that base Warmind cells already have. Next up, cellular suppression. They've reduced the duration of the suppressing effect when using cellular suppression. It's going from 3 seconds down to 2 seconds. And finally, Wrath of Rasputin, which is pivotal to some of the best Warmind builds right now. They've reduced the bonus solar damage. Previously it was 1 to 200, now it scales from 25 damage up to 100 damage. So, major nerfs coming to Warmind cells, but again, it's not really too much of a surprise. Those things have been the pinnacle of PvE for a long time. But it's not the only changes we're seeing. Next up, we've got some changes to elemental wells. 2 elemental well mods are getting improvements in order to make them a more competitive choice when compared to other combat style mods. First, Elemental Armaments now has an increased chance to spawn an elemental well based on their tier of the enemy defeated, and Font of Might's base duration has been increased to 10 seconds and increased the damage bonus provided from 10% all the way up to a whopping 25%. That's a pretty major buff for the elemental well perks there, so hopefully maybe those will kind of fill in the gap here that the Warmind cells are going to be leaving when Season 15 rolls around. But alright, those are the major sandbox changes discussed in this week's TWAP. Some pretty crazy stuff in there, but it's not the end of the news. Of course, last season, Lord Saladin brought some fresh weapons to the fold for Guardians to earn in the Iron Banner. Ree's Walker packed to punch in the Crucible, and Archon's Thunder could go on a rampage in PvE. Next season, 2 new weapons will make their appearance: the Forge's Pledge Pulse Rifle and Peace Bond's Sidearm, each available through vendor packages, bounties, match rewards, and of course the seasonal Iron Banner quest. But that's not the only thing that's changing with Iron Banner. It's been some time since Saladin brought a fresh set of armor to earn. Pulled from the depths of forgotten seas, these pieces worn by warriors of the past are ready for battle once more. Introducing the Iron Forerunner set. And it comes with a special benefit. Starting next season, Bungie will be introducing the Iron Lord's Pride intrinsic perk through this set. Wearing a piece of this armor grants a small chance of an enhancement prism dropping at the end of an Iron Banner match. Each additional piece worn increases the chance, capping out at 4 pieces total. Defeat your foes with the fury of an Iron Forge. Show no mercy. And that is an incredible change in my opinion. We know there's other changes coming to Iron Banner as well, but this is actually going to give you a benefit to wearing the high stat roll Iron Banner armor that you're generally grinding for during the course of the event. Anything to give players more upgrade materials is always good in my book. But alright, that's pretty much it for the biggest bits of news contained in this week's TWAB. The last thing we have to talk about is we've got a new series of Twitch Prime rewards available for players. For those of you who don't know, if you've got a Amazon and Twitch Prime gaming account, you can link up your Bungie account and get monthly rewards from Amanda Holiday in the Tower. This time around, it's the Fireworks exotic emote, the Fastlane exotic Ghost Shell, the Vanishing Point exotic Sparrow, and the Vorpile 8 legendary ship. If you haven't yet linked your Prime Gaming and Bungie account, of course there's a link to it in the TWAB, which there's a link to down in the description box below. But alright Guardians, that's pretty much it for the biggest bits of news contained in this week's issue of the Bungie Weekly blog, This Week at Bungie. Really exciting stuff in there. I've got a lot of thoughts about some of those exotic changes, and I know you do too. Be sure to let me know how you feel down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But I'm out for now. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.